Hi guys, MrRoflWaffles here. Now that the new season is out for Modern Warfare Zombies, I'm doing a new list of all the side Easter eggs in the mode. We'll cover stuff that was in the game at launch, stuff that was added in patches and in the new seasons, and I'll obviously be covering any new side Easter eggs that get added in the future in upcoming videos, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss those. Our first side quest Easter egg is one of the most powerful ones in the game actually, and it's the friendly Hellhound. To do this, you just need to grab chunks of flesh, which you can get from one-hit killing zombies with things like sniper rifles, or from the ACV escort when it runs over zombies. That's a really good way to get the drops for this too. And then you just need to bring the chunks of flesh to a dog canal. There are canals all over tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3, and depending on what tier you're in, you need to bring a corresponding number of chunks of flesh. So in tier 3, to get a tier 3 dog, you need 3 chunks. So pop the chunks of flesh inside, and out will pop your friendly Hellhound. This thing will revive you if you go down, it will attack zombies for you and distract them. It's crazy useful for distracting more powerful enemies as well. Like this disciple can't do anything because it's just stuck sucking my dog. Wait, what? And so this Easter egg is great if you're in co-op, but it's absolutely essential if you're playing solo and definitely worth doing in your game. Next up is the chess Easter egg. This is also known as the secret vault because there is a vault under Shaheen Mana which tells you that it is locked unless you complete the following steps. First, you need to go to this corner of the map and send a transmission to another area of the map, which is all very mysterious. Then you need to take down a named boss called the Rook, and again, you'll be able to send another transmission. Then you do the same thing with the Knight, and again, another transmission from that. And finally, there's a named boss called the Bishop, and he will also drop a transmitter that you need to send a signal from. With all of those done, you'll be able to go back to the vault under Shaheen Mana and open up the vault itself. It will allow you to unlock it. Inside, you'll find a whole bunch of loot, but you'll also find a mimic in there called the King, who you'll need to take down, or you'll pay with your life. Next up, the Bloodburner. This can be found all over the map, actually. It's got a whole bunch of different spawn points, and this amazing website actually has a bunch of the spawns figured out, so you can check them in your games and try and find the bike for yourself. When you find the bike, you'll discover that it can drive on water, which is insane. It self-heals, so it's not going to get destroyed super fast like the other vehicles. And if you run over zombies with it, it charges the bike up. And after about 15 kills, you'll get access to a pulse blast, which will kill anything in your immediate area. So this thing is crazy powerful. And I also didn't mention yet, the bike talks to you. It's nuts. Now, this one's a real stretch, but there are also radios that you can find around the map. I wouldn't really call these side quests or Easter eggs per se, but I've seen some people speculating about them, and so I wanted to just include them that yes, there are a whole bunch of audio logs, like 50 plus, that you can find around the map. Next, I wouldn't call this an Easter egg per se, but it's very, very useful. If you find these ether tears around the map, go into the ether tear, and then hold forward on your analog stick and pull your parachute straight away, and after a couple of seconds, you should notice a points canister in the sky that you can grab. And once you've grabbed that first one, keep going forwards, and you'll see another one spawn in, and you can get like 2,000 to 3,000 points from this every single time. Now, something that is definitely an Easter egg is a reference to Infinite Warfare Zombies that's been found in the mode. I couldn't really believe my eyes when I found this, because this means that the Chaos story from Black Ops 4 and the Infinite Warfare story are somehow both canon in the same universe now. It's very strange, but I guess it's pretty cool. Leave your theories as to how the hell that even works in the comments down below. Next up is an Easter egg that I actually found on stream. I was really shocked that I discovered this. Basically, if you go into tier 3, you can find a little grave for a fallen dog. It seems that a dog has passed away and a little shrine has been set up for it. But if you sacrifice your weapon to the grave, it will spit a couple of rewards back at you, and it will give you your weapon back without any pack-a-punch or weapon rarity left on it. This means that you can kind of recycle tier 3 pack-a-punches and stuff like that at the end of your game and get some crystals from it to use in your next match. So definitely worth doing if you're about to exit tier 3 to exfil. Next up, there's a way to get every single perk for free in a kind of extended perkaholic Easter egg, and I'm going to run through the method for each perk now. In all of these, you're going to need to copy locations that I'm showing you on my map. I'll refer to grid squares, but I'll also give you some recognizable landmarks so you know exactly where you're going. I'll also show you a map with all the locations on it at the end, so you can quickly navigate between them all. First of all, though, we're starting with Juggernog. Pull up your map, look for C3, and in the center of the grid square, you should see a little square building where I'm standing right right now. And just outside that square, there are a few parasols set up and a few chairs around an old bonfire where someone was eating garbanzo beans. Anyway, you need to bring a thermite or a Molotov to this location, or just something that can ignite fire, and throw it at the remains of that bonfire. That's going to reignite the bonfire, and the little blue bunny rabbit that's sitting on the chair, who's called Mr. Peaks, is going to disappear. That's an indicator that you've done this successfully, and you'll see a rift spawn in, which will contain your free Juggernog. Now, a quick note on this is your teammates won't see that rift portal. It doesn't work the same way as the reward portals from the mission contracts. So keep in mind that this is an Easter egg for you and not for them. Next up is Stamina Up. We're going to be in the top center of the D7 grid square for this one, and you're going to be looking for this massive skyscraper. It's absolutely enormous. You can't miss it. Enter the skyscraper through this door, head straight on, and then take a left after the elevator shaft to find Mr. Peaks waiting for us once again. Your job now is to simply run up all of the stairs. It will take you like a full minute because there's so many of them, and you don't need to sprint. I literally just walked up them, and once you get to the top and you burst through the door up there onto the roof, another rift portal will spawn in and you'll get your free stamina up. Next up, Death Perception. Look on your map for the top of the E2 grid square, and in the game, you're going to be looking for this massive smokestack. Climb the first ladder up the smokestack, and then check the floor around you for good loot, because it often spawns there, and then climb the next ladder up to the top. Then jump off the railing and fly towards these 3 metal rings. You need to time it correctly and successfully pilot your parachute so that you fly through all 3 rings in one flight. To do this, I recommend slowing down just a little bit before you go through that first ring, and then pushing forward and really accelerating as soon as you can get through it, and then hard veering over to the left to finish it off. And that's your free Death Perception. Next, we're going to be in Shaheen Mana in H7, and you'll see on the map there's a big rectangular pool out the back of the manor, and Mr. Peaks is sitting on the side of the pool. Follow the route I'm running to run all the way up to the roof, and then climb on the little ledge here and hop across to the other ledge so you can get on top of this wooden board. You need to run and jump from the wooden board into the water just next to Mr. Peaks, but don't make the mistake I made here of trying to dolphin dive and then completely failing and just landing on the concrete. Instead, make sure that you hold your dolphin dive button early enough that it's actually going to trigger, and dive right in there next to Mr. Peaks to get your portal to open up and your free PhD flopper. Next is Tombstone, and this one's going to be in the very top of the G8 grid square. But in terms of landmarks, there are a few buildings around here that actually look very similar because they're in construction. So don't make the mistake of going to this building where the rope is going across, but instead come to this one. Run around the back and then up the stairs, and then up the stairs inside to get to the roof. And you have to keep your wits about you here because there are a lot of zombie spawns in this particular location. And you'll also need to bring along a sniper. Now, I've tested it with certain snipers that don't have their standard base scope. They have a modified scope, like this weapon here, for example. And I've also tried this with this weapon here, for example. And amongst getting overrun by zombies, they didn't work. So make sure you're copying what I'm doing in this clip, and you have this sort of sniper with plenty of range, and you then need to find and look at Mr. Peaks sitting on the crane. Hold your breath when you're aiming at him, and after a moment, you'll get a jump scare, and then your portal will spawn in, and it will contain your free tombstone. This can be a great one to troll your friends as well. Next, we have Deadshot Daiquiri, and this one is in the I3 grid square. Now, on my map, I'm just going to float my cursor over here, and I'm going to ping a specific tomb that we are going to stand on top of. And this one's really easy if you follow exactly what I do in the video. So I'm going to run over here, and I'm going to get on top of the tomb. You can see it's pretty prominently displayed right in front of the church. And then I'm going to line up my feet so that I'm directly on top of the corner of the tomb. And then I'm going to aim up, and the center of my cursor, I'm going to kind of line it up to here. And when I've got that lined up, I'm going to throw my Semtex. And that will be a successful completion. And voila, your portal will spawn with your free Deadshot. Now, if this doesn't work, it might mean that you're actually hitting the side of the window instead of getting the Semtex through the window and into the church. And it's only going to succeed if the Semtex doesn't get stuck on the outside and it goes through the window. So run over to the ammo box, grab some more lethals, and then try again until you get it. Next up is Speed Cola. We're going to be towards the top right-hand corner of C2 for this. And you'll notice on the map, and you've probably noticed running around your game, that there's a massive bird statue there. And we're going to be using that to get our free perk. But this one can't be done on foot. You need to be in a vehicle. With your vehicle, you need to back up, and then you just need to absolutely floor your accelerator and use the bird statue as a ramp. And when you hit the ground, you should then see that the portal will spawn in just next to you, and you'll be able to grab your free speed cola. Now, a word of warning here. I've done this before where I did the jump, but I was being a little bit of a wuss. I didn't want to hit top speed, and as a result, I landed very close to the cliffside. And what that may do is it may mean that your portal or your rift actually spawns in kind of wedged into the wall, and you won't be able to open it and get your free perk from inside. Next is quick revive on the highway in the middle of H6. You're going to want to be in this vehicle for this because the slower ones are not going to work, and you'll want to park it stationary underneath this sign, which Mr. Peaks is sitting on top of. Then wait for a sound cue, which sounds like this, and immediately hit the accelerator and gun it down the highway towards the next sign, because that's your finish line and you need to get there ASAP. So long as you're fast enough, you'll get another sound cue and you'll be able to turn around, and your portal with your free quick revive will have spawned. Next up, these teleport portals are a really cool Easter egg, so you can find entrances to these again on that same website I showed you before. And the way they work is you walk over to them, and that's what's going to cause them to appear on the wall in front of you. And then you shoot in a 3-symbol combination, and that's going to take you to a specific other location on the map. My favorite of the bunch here is this combination, which takes me straight into tier 3 and means that I can fly into like half the island without needing to drive in or rely on a vehicle or whatever. So super useful, this one. The only downside is the portals cost 1,000 points. I think that Treyarch should reduce that to be free, to be honest, because if you know how to use these things, you shouldn't be paying such extortionate amounts of money for it. But we'll see if that changes in the future. Next up, I'm sure you've seen the Stormcaller boss, and you've probably tried to take it down before realizing that, oh my god, it's just so powerful, it's really not worth the hassle. But the Stormcaller actually can give you a free Pack-a-Punch tier. So when you kill it, it will drop a gold skull worth 5 grand. Obviously, you sell that, you have 5,000 points, you can spend that on Pack-a-Punch. And it wouldn't shock me if the gold skull is needed for a quest in the future as well. Now, in terms of boss fights, there are also a couple of those in the game which feel very Easter eggy. Number one is the Defeat Zakayev mission, which is at the end of Act 3. And that leads to a crazy purple worm boss fight, which I took down on stream for the first time with Treyarch in the chat. It was a really cool moment, and I definitely recommend doing that in your game if you get the opportunity. In Season 1, they added a few new worms. So there is a worm in the Act 4 story mission, and that one actually blocks your exit from the Dark Aether and is extremely strong. It's much harder to take down than the worm in the Defeat Zakayev mission. But the strongest worm of them all is Greylorm. And Greylorm is a red worm that you have to summon from an Easter egg that was added in Season 1, where you check this location in the Orlov military base to find out whereabouts there are UAV towers on the map that will give you a USB stick. You run over to each of the towers, you grab a USB stick, and then you run over to the area where you can basically summon the worm, but it can only be done at the end of the game during the Aether Storm. When the storm reaches you, you put the USBs in, and the worm will be summoned. And it's extremely powerful, so you're gonna need 3 to 6 to more people to take this down. But if you do so successfully, it does drop you some really rare schematic loot. Next up, a really cool Easter egg they added is inside the Dark Aether. So when you travel into the Dark Aether, you can find keys in various locations. They look like this, and these keys have a very specific purpose, which is opening these locked doors. There's, again, multiple locked doors here, and you can get wonder weapons from these and all sorts of other rewards as well. This could be especially useful if you're trying to do the tier 5 objectives and you just don't have enough firepower, because you might be able to get yourself some power-ups like an insta-kill or something, or indeed a wonder weapon from this, so you can shred the zombies a bit more easily. So with everything I've talked about so far, have I missed any Easter eggs? If I did, comment down below and I'll post a follow-up video linked on screen right now with even more Easter eggs and secrets to uncover in the game. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.